Let's move into main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Jonathan Lund. And Jonathan Lund writes, "Hey, John and Rob." Well, hello there, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us here today. Tenet is now up to $250 million worldwide at the box office and pulled in another $4.7 million over the weekend, bringing its total domestic cume to $36 million. Tenet is still a long way from breaking even, never mind making a profit, but with no immediate competition on the horizon and more films being pushed off their upcoming release dates, do you think this will improve Tenet's chances at the box office ongoing? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, we've been talking a lot about Tenet recently, obviously being the first big film to hit theaters and tracking what it's been doing. Has it been kind of expected, all things considered with the environment? A lot of people think it's been underperforming, even considering the environment. But yeah, it has now crossed 250 million. To get to break even, it's still got a long way to go. I mean, I know that number sounds great. 250 million sounds wonderful. And it does. It's a lot of money. But for a film like this, with the type of costs that it has, it's got a long way to go. It still has a long way to go. And so some people have kind of been looking at this Tenet thing and saying, hey, it's doing as well as you can expect from something given the current circumstances. It's about as well as you can expect given the circumstances. But a lot of people also saying, man, this is kind of rough. I mean, this is kind of... But you do raise a great point. We all knew going into Tenet's release that one of its advantages, and it's hard to find an advantage in this environment right now, but one of the advantages we knew going into its release was going to be the fact that, for the most part, it was going to have the theaters to itself in many ways. Yeah, not all the theaters are open. Yes, not everybody is ready to go back to the theaters yet. Yes, the theaters that are open have limited capacity. All these things are true. But at least the one thing it had going for it was it could have a longer than normal period of time where it pretty much has its own dominance over the box office because not a lot of other things are coming. In the midst of other big movies now moving even more, like we know that Wonder Woman has got moved again and things like that, could this be another possible silver lining? Because right now, Rob, when you look at the situation, if you want to go to the movies, there are some other smaller things opening. But if you want to go to the movies, you're going to the movies to watch one thing. My buddy, actually Saturday night, a buddy of mine was, I was chatting on text with a buddy of mine, and Ann and I, he lives out near Santa Monica, where Ann and I were spending the weekend. And we just asked him if he wanted to get together for dinner with us. He said, oh, I'm actually going to the movies tonight. I'm going out to the movies. And I didn't even have to ask the question. But I did say, so you're going to go see Tenet, right? Yeah, that's really it. If you want to go out to the movies right now, there's really one movie you have to go see, which is Tenet. Now, is this minor advantage in a world of disadvantages going to be enough that, say, by the end of October, Tenet will have broken even? No. No, even once the LA theaters and New York theaters and all that kind of, even with all those opening again, it's just not going to break even. It's going to make a hell of a lot more money than it would have, but given these terrible climate that we're in right now, but it's just not. But Rob, in asking the question, is this going to play into Tenet's benefit with all these other movies moving off their release dates, having more of a long Fast and the Furious, like long, unbelievably long, unrealistically long runway for your film? It's got to work to its advantage. I think it's going to reap some benefits. Huge benefits, maybe not, but at least some. Rob, how do you interpret it?
Well, unfortunately, if you look at what's going on with COVID around the world, the numbers are increasing, especially in Europe. They're talking about a second wave hitting, and we certainly will see where we are, but who knows? I mean, luckily things have come down sort of here in Los Angeles, but in other places they're going up. I mean, Tenet's got the landscape to itself now, but how long are movies going to play now? Are we going to stay open? Are we not going to stay open? I think it really depends on what happens in the world. But I still don't think, I think ultimately with the amount of money this cost, I mean, we've been talking about this a lot on the show. It's going to come nowhere near to break even. And I think ultimately this was going to be seen as a failed. It was a worthy attempt, but I think it'll never be considered anything other than a failure, because $250 million for a movie like this, it should have made that in the first 10 days of release, if not a lot more.
Yeah, but you're talking in a world where COVID doesn't exist. You're
right. No, I am talking, but
I think you have to take that in consideration. You have to take into consideration the world as it is right now. And I think, to just say, it should have made this one. Well, yes, but a lot of things should have happened. Black Widow should have been in theaters already. Wonder Woman should have came out months ago. A lot of things should have happened. But, so I think we need to evaluate when we look at things like Tenet. I think we need to evaluate it taking the circumstances in which it was released into consideration. Because
I absolutely do. I think it was a mistake, though. I think it was a mistake to release this film. I think they should have moved. Oh, look, I understand they're trying to get movies back, but you know what? Ultimately, I think that this move did not do. It didn't benefit anyone. At the end of the day, it certainly didn't benefit the movie. It didn't benefit the studios. It didn't even benefit the movie theaters that much, because look at the domestic grosses. And I think they should have waited and seen where, as much as it pains me to say that, I think ultimately, look, if we haven't heard real numbers yet, but when they're talking about Mulan making $250 million with Disney's installed subscriber base and Tenet's making that worldwide, I mean, I don't know. I don't think history is going to look at this decision as being a good one.
I think it all depends, because I think the goalposts are moving every day. Like that's the thing about this whole thing. Like the goalpost, because here's the thing. If we lived in a culture where people weren't morons, and if we lived in a culture where everybody did the appropriate things and we did what we needed to do to interact and manage the virus properly and blah, 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 then Tenet comes out on this release date. It makes significantly more money than it did now. And it's looking as one of the most genius strokes ever in the history of movies. It was bold. It was they were the ones, they were the penguins to dive into the water first. They were the brave ones. They were the bold ones. They were the ones who made that decision, blah, blah. But the issue is we didn't manage the pandemic right. And we continued to do things badly. And listen, when we see some numbers going up in places, they're not going up because of movie theaters. They're going up because in and out, there are just too many people that live in this country that simply aren't smart enough to know how to manage themselves properly in the midst of a pandemic. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I think what's happened to Tenet is more of a commentary on the times that we are in, more than it is a commentary on Tenet. You know what I mean? Oh no, I
100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I just think that I don't think it was the right time to release the film. I think that it was a valiant attempt, and it was certainly the movie to lead off with. But I think I blame Tenet for I don't think I'm going to get to see No Time to Die in November because of Tenet. I blame Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers for not letting me see No Time to Die. But I could be wrong.
I would propose the opposite. I would propose that if No Time to Die does open in November, it's going to be because Tenet was able to open now and get the process of everything going. I would propose to you that if Tenet had not come out now, I'd say there's zero chance that No Time to Die comes out in November. I honestly do. I think if Tenet had not come out now, I think the chances that No Time to Die comes out in November are zero. Absolute zero. I still don't think it's likely. You and I think both of us have become a little bit more pessimistic about it recently. But I think if there is any chance for No Time to Die coming out in October, it's going to be because a film like Tenet came out in the worst of times to at least get the theaters open again, get the awareness start going that the theaters are open, that there are movies coming. And so if No Time to Die can come out in theaters, they may look at that in November and say, okay, we can put this out because a lot of the legwork was already done by Tenet. But I honestly think if Tenet had not come out, I don't think there was any chance that any November film, And they may not come out anyway, but I don't think there's any chance those films come out in November without that first. Because I don't think any of them wanted to be that first penguin in the water.
No.
Right? So somebody had to do it. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Either way, there's no way around it. It's an ugly situation for everybody. The theaters are suffering. The studios are suffering. Movie fans aren't getting the films that they want to see. And these are all just our minor little first world problems when it comes to this pandemic stuff. But that's what we're here to talk about, is our little movie loving world. But anyway, guys, the question is for you. Do you think that other films getting bumped off is going to benefit, however big or however small, the ongoing run of Tenet, or do you really think it's not going to have any impact on it whatsoever? There's good arguments to be made both ways. Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.